Hey, what's up, everybody? So I just got back from Paris Olympics. I was coaching my son Jack, and I just want to address something that everybody's talking about. And it's not only my son Jack, but the rule set and the refereeing. It's just controlling who wins and loses the match more than the better person winning or losing the match. Um, if somebody if you didn't know the rules of judo or the competition judo, you'd be shocked at how half of my family that was out there doesn't know exactly why this person beat that person. If there was no throws, no chokes, no pins, no arm locks, and one guy looked more aggressive or stronger than the other guy, but somehow he loses the match, it's not good for judo. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't seem, it's not good for the sport in general. I know they changed the rules of no leg grabs and the shidos for stalling and attacking and stuff like that. They wanted to make the sport look better and better for television or better for the viewer. It's completely backfired. It's not working. It doesn't. It's become the shido game rather than judo. I mean, when I competed a long time ago, the referees would use their own discretion of when to call stalling or when to, which it wasn't like, okay, this guy attacked this one, like shido right away, shido. It doesn't help the sport. So let me address the three main things that I think is a big part of the problem. Number one, I've been saying this for over a decade, that the false attacking. Okay, so if one person is to throw somebody in judo, you have to get your grip and set them up and stand on your feet and throw them, right? So if the other person feels like he's in trouble or she's in trouble because this other person has got a grip where they feel threatened and they're strong, they don't feel like they can stay on their feet, the other guy might throw them, they're gonna drop down and not stay on their feet. Meanwhile, the judo rules are rewarding them for an attack, and they're giving the shido to the person that's trying to actually stand on their feet and throw. So too many times I see the other person feel not comfortable, get their grip and fall directly down, pulling them down and not even turning in. Actually, they're just falling down to their knees or falling backwards to their back, some sutemi waza, sumi, or tomonagi. It's not very hard to bend your opponent over if you have a grip somewhere to fall down and pull them down without trying to really throw. You're just trying not to get thrown yourself. And meanwhile, the rule set is favoring you because you know if you do that enough times, the referee is going to give the other person a shido for stalling and not attacking. So it's the opposite. It's in my time, I think the referees use their own discretion where they could see the person that's attacking is attacking because they don't want to stand on their feet and they're afraid to get thrown, so they false attack or they attack to not stay on their feet and meanwhile attack. Eventually, if they do that too much, the referee can see that and they're going to call them for stalling. Back then there wasn't a term false attack. They just call the other person for stalling because it's defensive. They're not offensive. They're defensive by grabbing and falling. So this is something they should switch, that they call way more false attacks than they should stalling on the person that's trying to grab. That's one thing. That's a big one for me. The other things with like head dive, yeah, it's dangerous to fall on your head, but if the thrower is just barely touching their heads, maybe there are a few pieces of their hair is on the mat, while they're making a throw, a big throw, and then you give the victory to the other person getting thrown because he just grazed his head. This is not a good rule set for judo either. People that don't, I mean, this is, you're supposed to try to throw your opponent. And if that was the case, like before, Shohei One would lose almost every match because when he threw Uchimata, his head was grazing the ground. But he's not putting force on his head. He's just low. You're just low when you're doing it, and you're turning. I can see when the other person is getting thrown, where I think they used to actually try to call this more often, was when the person getting thrown tries to bridge on their head. That's their choice. It's dangerous, and you don't want to bridge on your own head to get out of the throw. I don't have a problem with that. But when the thrower now they're not even looking at that. They're looking at the person throwing and penalizing him or her for the head dive. When they're not, they know they're not. They're just barely touching their head and then falling to their shoulder or something like that. It's not that dangerous when you're in control of what you're doing. So that's not a good look for judo either. When some guy slams the other guy and they give the match to the other person because of that head dive. Leg grabs. You know, if they don't want it to look like wrestling, it never did look like wrestling. There's been wrestlers that's been in judo. When I was competing, for a long time, they tried to wrestlers try to do good in judo, but wrestling is a different sport where they get a 2-point takedown for grabbing maybe a single leg and go around to their back. That's not, you don't get anything in judo for that, and there's not that many people doing that. The leg grabs that we would use in judo are to pick the guy up and throw them or trip them with grabbing the leg. It doesn't look like wrestling, and it should be now, like this happened to Jack at the Olympics, just by, he didn't grab the leg, but as the guy was on his back trying a sumi, after Jack was doing kataguruma, he tried to switch it to a counter for sumi, and which could have been Jack's score anyway, because he went to his back to do the sumi. Jack put his arm in between the legs to pass him to get the pin, which he did for a few seconds, and they're calling that a leg grab. He didn't touch the leg, but B, the guy was on his back anyway, so you're allowed to go around, and I don't know, it takes away the value of you want to see the better person win the match, or the guy who's stronger, the better judoka win the match, right? You don't want it to be decided by the referees at the table or on the mat saying, no, I'm going to intervene here, and whether the other guy was, all I care about is the rule, and this is who's going to win the match because of this. It's too much. It's just too much. Use your discretion on. They have the best referees in the world at the Olympics, at the Worlds, all this other stuff. So they have to understand judo, and if you understand judo, the things that I'm talking about, false attacks and all this stuff, you don't have to enforce it because the rule says the person attacks 2 times, and that means the other guy gets the shido if he doesn't attack once. That's not good for the sport. Everybody's going to be on their knees or their back constantly doing this. In fact, nowadays, when you should have seen at the Olympics, in the crowd, they're not screaming for throws. They're screaming for shidos. Shido blue, shido white. They don't care. This isn't what we don't want the sport to become the sport of the shido game. It's not good for the observer. They change the rules every Olympic cycle to make it better for TV or better for viewers. It's really backfired. It's not what the intention of these rules were. It's going the opposite way. So that now and you cannot blame the athlete because they're just going by the rules. They want to win a match. Okay, they're going to give the other guy shidos all the time if I just fall down like this, or you can't blame them, and you can't even blame the crowd for shouting for shidos. They want their guy to win. It's the rule set, and like I said, if they would bring back the old ways, when I competed, they had Koka, Yuko, Wazari, and they had discretion from the referee to decide whether they think the other person is attacking because of stalling or defensive, not wanting to get thrown, or the ref should be able to use their own discretion. That not even no system is perfect, but it was way better than it is now. I mean, the way they have to enforce these rules, the referees have to. It seems like they're in a meeting where they're saying, you have to do this, you have to do this, you have to do this, and it's killing this sport. To be honest with you, something has to be changed, and I really hope that after this Olympic cycle, because this is the talk of the whole Olympics, it's the better guy is not winning, and I mean, not every time, but I'm going to say at least 50 or maybe more than 50% of the time, the better guy is not winning because of this rule set and the way the referees have to call these calls. So I just hope that after this Olympics that the IJF will look at what's going on and reverse it, maybe bring back the old rules. Even if they bring back Hante, like if there was a shorter golden score or something like that, Hante to the judge's discretion. It's not perfect, like I said, but it is way better than it is now. It was. So anyway, that's my rant on the refereeing, not the refereeing, the rule set, what judo's become. And if you want people to get more interested in judo, you want to see throws, you want to see chokes, you want to see arm bars and pins and things that make sense to the reason to why Kano developed judo was the scores are there for a reason. The penalties that are happening now, it doesn't make sense, and it's not rewarding the better guy. So again, that's my rant, and hopefully maybe somebody's listening, somebody that could do something.